NeoTech Academy channel. My name is Ivanna and today I want to show you about different types of the stories that we can have. In my previous video I showed you a very common story about adding up new functionality. This type of the stories you will have a lot at your work environment. These stories are usually created by the product owner or business analyst, and those are showing what the client wants from you, what they want to build from you, and those stories are usually require work from the development and the testing side. But there are some stories that worked only by developers or only by testers. And the reason why do we have these stories? So as I mentioned, on the one side we have stories about the application itself, about new functionalities, but on the other hand, we have our automation framework, we have different tools that we are using, and these technologies, these tools, our framework, sometimes it needs some maintenance. For example, we have our framework, we've been working on it for a while, but there are new versions of the frameworks coming out, and you have to adjust your project like to the latest changes in technologies. Or maybe you deprecate some tools and now you're going to use different tools, so now you have to do this transition from one tool to the different tool. Or you have to prepare or maintain your test data. If you have like a lot of the test data, and that also will take your time and capacity. That is the reason why we have to create a story for this sort of activities. Because for your team it's important to show that what you are working on for your visibility and to show where your time and capacity are going to. So these sort of stories, they are called technical stories. And in order to create technical story, you do exactly the same thing as with regular stories. Just hit create right here, select your project, select your issue type as a story, and in summary you have to provide like what are you working on. So imagine that the new version of your framework came out and now you have to update it in order to keep your framework up and ready and working and everything like up to date. So in your summary you can put update automation framework with latest version. And imagine that for the latest version of your framework, for example, there were made some changes to the way web elements are searched for. Now you will need to do some refactoring with your web element pages. This can be quite time consuming. That's why in the description you can provide like what are the details of this technical maintenance work that needs to be done. So just for the example, I will put something like refactor web element pages, something like that. So this is just description more for you and also for your team to show like what exactly is going to be done under this story. And the rest is pretty much the same. Like the reporter, that's going to be the person who is working on this story, it's you. And assignee, like you can assign it right away to yourself. Priority, it depends also like how urgent your changes is. For example, sometimes, especially with new versions or changes that needs to be done to your project, sometimes they can be really urgent because let's say the new version is coming out in 1 month and the old version maybe stop working. So that means that the whole automation framework will not work properly and your test won't be executed properly. So this will be pretty urgent and you will need to complete as soon as possible this update, because after like certain date the older version will not work anymore and you have to update it with a new one. So keep in mind this like in priority, but at this time like you have just to understand like what is your purpose, what is the conditions of your project, and then decide what is your priority here. The epic link, so in my previous video I showed you that epic link can be like the bigger issue or bigger part of work, bigger direction where your team is moving. So here, as I explained a little bit earlier, you can put the epic link as like technical health of your applications. So that could be an epic link for those kind of stories, or like maintenance of your application. That can be like an epic link. And the sprint also depends on the priority that you have, but it can be current sprint, or if you know about the new changes coming up, you know that you have to do something, but it's not urgent, you can just put it into the backlog. Now, when you have all of the information right here, you can just hit create button, and as a regular story, it will be created. You can add it to your sprint, or you can look at that in the backlog. That's it for this video today. Thank you so much for your attention, and let me know if you have any questions.